Admiral Ji-Ho Nam arrived at the Seoul Deep Space Array before sunrise. He brought Dr. Woo-Jin Kang, the military's best expert on alien psychology, and pilot Soo-Min Han, leader of Korea's elite spacefighter squadron. The control room suddenly felt very crowded. Hana explained everything they had discovered. She showed them the decoded message, the coordinates, and the timeline. Admiral Nam listened without speaking. His face grew more serious with each detail. "Show me this harvest protocol again," he said. Hana brought up the translated sections on the main screen. They plan to strip mine our entire solar system. Every planet, every moon, every asteroid, nothing would be left. "And they think we're primitives with bronze tools," added Captain Dong-Soo. Dr. Woo-Jin Kang studied the alien communication patterns. He was a small, quiet man who specialized in understanding how different minds worked. "This is fascinating," he said. "Their entire communication style shows rigid thinking, very formal, very hierarchical." "What does that mean for us?" asked Admiral Nam. "It means they respect power and fear chaos. They understand clear command structures. They do not understand creativity or unexpected responses." Pilot Soo-Min Han had been quiet until now. She was young but had more space combat experience than anyone else in Korea. "Sir, with respect, analyzing them won't matter if we can't fight them." Admiral Nam nodded. "How much time do we have?" 18 months until they arrive," said Hana. "But only 4.5 years until our response reaches them. If we're going to try this deception, we need to send our message soon." "Deception?" asked Dr. Kang. Captain Dong-Soo explained Hana's plan. "We pretend to be the intended recipients of their message. We respond as if we're their allies, but we make them think we're much more powerful than they expected." Dr. Kang's eyes lit up. Yes, this could work, but not as allies, as competitors. Everyone turned to look at him. "Think about it," he continued. "The Valak message talks about shared operations and divided resources. They're working with others. But what if those others suddenly became more powerful? What if Earth was already claimed by an even stronger empire?" Admiral Nam understood immediately. "We don't just pretend to be their allies. We pretend to be their superiors." "The Terran hegemony," said Hana, the idea forming as she spoke. "A vast human empire that has already claimed Earth as their territory." For the next week, the team worked around the clock. They created false evidence of human colonies throughout space. Engineer Tae-Wan Lee worked with Dr. So-Young Choi to generate fake sensor readings that would support their story. "We need to be careful," warned So-Young. "Their technology is far beyond ours. If we claim something impossible, they'll know we're lying." "So we don't claim the impossible," said Dr. Kang. "We claim the improbable. Things that are technically possible, but seem unlikely." They studied the Valak technology mentioned in the message. Their ships were powered by fusion reactors. Their weapons used focused particle beams. Their faster-than-light travel worked differently than human theory predicted. "Here's our advantage," said Tae-Wan, showing his calculations. "They're advanced, but they're not innovative. Everything in their message follows predictable patterns. They probably haven't changed their technology in thousands of years. So we invent new technology," said Hana. "On paper, at least." Dr. So-Young worked with Earth's best physicists to create theoretical weapons and defense systems. They had to be believable, but superior to what the Valak possessed. The mathematics had to be perfect, even if the technology was impossible to build. Meanwhile, pilot Soo-Min Han helped design false fleet movements. They positioned automated transmitters throughout the solar system to broadcast fake ship signatures. To any observer, it would look like hundreds of massive warships were patrolling Earth's space. "The timing has to be perfect," she explained. "These signals need to reach different observation points at exactly the right moments to create the illusion of moving fleets." Dr. Kang focused on the psychological aspects of their deception. He studied every word of the Valak message, looking for clues about their culture and thinking patterns. They use very formal language structures, he noted. Every statement follows the same pattern: identification, status, action, result. They think in straight lines. "How do we use that?" asked Admiral Nam. We respond in their format, but with content that breaks their expectations. Formal language, but claiming things they never imagined possible. The hardest part was creating believable evidence of advanced human technology. They couldn't just claim to have better weapons. They had to prove it with detailed technical specifications. So Young worked with quantum physicists to design theoretical weapons that used principles the Valak message showed they didn't understand. Quantum cascade disruptors, she called them. Weapons that could theoretically destroy matter at the subatomic level. Do these actually work? Asked Taewon. The math works, said So Young. Whether we could actually build them is another question. But the Valak won't know that. Hana spent her time perfecting the alien language. She had become Earth's first expert in Valak communication. The mathematical concepts were complex, but she was beginning to think in their patterns. I think I understand their weakness, she told the team during one late-night session. They're absolutely logical. Everything follows rules. They probably haven't encountered true creativity in centuries. Creativity won't stop their weapons, said Sumin. No, but it might stop them from using their weapons. If we can convince them that attacking Earth would be unprofitable or dangerous, they might choose a different target. Admiral Nam made the final decision after consulting with the Korean government and secretly with other world leaders. The plan was approved at the highest levels. Humanity would attempt the greatest deception in history. We have one chance, he told the team. If this works, we buy ourselves time to prepare real defenses. If it fails, we've lost nothing because we were doomed anyway. The response took 3 weeks to compose. Every word was carefully chosen. Every technical specification was checked by teams of scientists. The message had to be perfect. Hana read the final version aloud to the team. Valak Command Authority, acknowledged. Terran hegemony claims prior development rights to SOL-3 system and surrounding territory. Your harvest protocol conflicts with established hegemony operations. Recommend immediate consultation to avoid resource conflicts. Terran Defense Fleet maintains patrol status. Advanced reconnaissance assets monitor all approaches. Response. Required within acceptable timeframes to prevent territorial disputes. It sounds appropriately threatening without being openly hostile, said Dr. Kang. The technical attachments are impressive, added So Young. Detailed specifications for weapons and defenses that should be theoretically possible but practically beyond their current understanding. Taewon had prepared the transmission systems. The signal will be sent from multiple points in the solar system simultaneously. It will look like we have communication arrays throughout our territory. Pilot, Sumin had coordinated the fake fleet signatures. Starting the moment we send this message, our automated transmitters will begin broadcasting movement patterns for a fleet of 300 capital ships and over 1,000 smaller vessels. Admiral Nam looked around the room. Everyone understands that once we send this message, there's no going back. We're committed to this deception until either they believe us or they destroy us. Everyone nodded. Dr. Kim, send the message. Hana's hands shook slightly as she activated the transmission system. The powerful dishes outside rotated to focus on Proxima Centauri. The message that would determine humanity's fate began its journey across space at the speed of light. Message sent, she announced. It will reach the Valak Empire in 4.2 years. And their response will take another 4.2 years to reach us, said Admiral Nam. That gives us 8.5 years to make our deception reality, Dr. A. Kang smiled for the first time since the crisis began. 8.5 years to build the Terran hegemony. Outside the control room, the sun was rising over Seoul. Somewhere among the stars, an alien empire was planning to harvest Earth's solar system. But now, for the first time since the crisis began, humanity had hope. They had sent a message into the void, claiming to be something they were not. Now they had to become something they had never imagined they could be. The greatest bluff in human history had begun. Dr. Hana Kim rubbed her tired eyes and looked at the computer screen again. She had been working for 18 hours straight at the Seoul Deep Space Communication Array. The huge metal dishes outside pointed toward the stars, always listening. for signals from space. Most days they heard nothing but empty noise. Today was different. The signal came from the direction of Proxima Centauri, the closest star to Earth. But this was not like the radio waves that scientists hoped to find. This signal was strong, clear, and very focused. It was not meant for Earth at all. The beam was aimed at empty space, 15 light-years past human territory. Hana called her team to the control room. Engineer Tae-Wan Lee arrived first, still holding his coffee cup. Dr. So-Young Choi came next, followed by Captain Dong-Soo Park. From the military section, they all gathered around Hana's workstation. "What do you have?" asked Dong-Soo. He was a serious man who always got straight to the point. Hana pointed at the screen. "We caught something that was not meant for us. Look at this pattern." She played the signal. It sounded like organized noise, but there was clearly a structure to it. Tae-Wan set down his coffee. "That's not natural. Something made this signal." "Yes," said Hana. "And it's not from Earth. The source is definitely Proxima Centauri." So-Young leaned closer to the screen. "The signal strength is incredible. Whatever sent this has technology far beyond ours." For the next 6 hours, the team worked to decode the signal. They tried every method they knew. Most of the message remained a mystery, but slowly some parts began to make sense. The first breakthrough came when So-Young noticed mathematical patterns. "These numbers," she said, pointing at sequences on the screen. "They're coordinates, star positions." Hana felt her heart beat faster. "Show me." So-Young highlighted sections of the decoded signal. "Here, here, and here. These match known star positions in our galaxy maps." Tae-Wan found the next piece. "These look like time markers. Dates, maybe. But in what calendar system?" As they worked, Captain Dong-Soo remained quiet. He watched their progress with growing concern. Finally, he spoke. "What kind of message needs star coordinates and time markers?" Hana had been thinking the same thing. Military communications. Battle plans, maybe. The breakthrough came near midnight. Hana had been staring at one section of the signal for hours, when she suddenly understood. "It's a language," she said, "not words like ours, but concepts. Mathematical concepts." She showed the others. "This symbol appears before every coordinate. This one appears before every time marker. They're like labels. Working together, they began to build a basic understanding of the alien language. It was slow work, but they were making progress. The message began to reveal its secrets. What they found made them all go silent. "Harvest protocol," Hana read from her translation. "Target systems identified. Resistance level, minimal. Species classification. Primitive tool users." So-Young's face went pale. "Which systems are they talking about?" Hana checked the coordinates against their star maps. Her hands shook as she pointed at the screen. This one, and this one. The last coordinate was their own solar system. Captain Dong-Soo stood up. "Are you certain?" "Yes," Hana whispered. "They're planning something called a harvest protocol, and Earth is on their list." The team worked through the night to decode more of the message. What they learned was terrifying. The aliens called themselves the Galactic Empire. They had been watching many star systems, including Earth. But their information about humans was very old. "Look at this," Tae-Wan said, pointing at part of the message. "They think we're still using bronze tools. They think we can't even fly." "When was their last survey of Earth?" asked Dong-Soo. So-Young calculated the dates in the message. "Based on these time markers, about 3,000 years ago." "They have no idea what we've become," said Hana. The message contained more disturbing information. The Galactic Empire strip-mined entire star systems. They took all the metals, all the useful materials, and left nothing behind. The primitive species on those worlds were not even considered worth saving. "We're insects to them," said Tae-Wan. "They plan to destroy our entire solar system for its resources." Captain Dong-Soo had been listening to everything. Now he made a decision. "We need to contact the Space Defense Council immediately." "Wait," said Hana. "There's more. This message, it's not from the Valak to us. It's from the Valak to someone else. She showed them the message header. It's addressed to coordinates, in empty space. Someone else was supposed to receive this. Who? Asked So-Young. I don't know. But whoever they are, the Valak think they're allies. The message talks about shared operations and divided resources. The team stared at the screen. They had intercepted a military communication between alien civilizations. Earth wasn't just facing one enemy. There were others out there, and they were working together. Captain Dong-Su walked to the communication panel. I'm calling Admiral Nam. This goes to the highest levels right now. Wait, said Hana. She had an idea forming in her mind. What if we respond? Respond? Taewon looked at her like she was crazy. We're not the intended recipients. Exactly. But the Valak don't know that. And whoever was supposed to get this message is 15 light years away. Our response would reach the Valak long before theirs would. So-Young understood first. You want to pretend we're their allies. Not allies. Something else. Something that makes them reconsider attacking Earth. Captain Dong-Su shook his head. That's incredibly dangerous. If they figure out we're the primitive species they plan to harvest, then we're no worse off than we are now, said Hana. Right now they plan to destroy us in... When did the message say? Taewon checked his notes. 18 months. They'll arrive in 18 months. 18 months to prepare for a war we can't win, said Hana. Or 18 months to convince them not to start one. The room fell silent. Outside, the dawn sky was getting lighter. The big communication dishes continued their slow rotation, pointing at distant stars. Captain Dong-Su looked at each team member. This decision is above our level, but I want your opinions. Do you think this could work? The mathematics might work, said So-Young. If we can convince them we're technologically advanced. The signal format is complex, but I think I can replicate it, said Taewon. Hana nodded. Their language is mathematical. We can learn it. Humans are good at learning. And if we're wrong? Asked Dong-Su. Then we die in 18 months instead of dying unprepared, said Hana. Captain Dong-Su made his decision. He picked up the secure communication device. Admiral Nam, this is Captain Park at Seoul Deep Space. We have a situation that requires immediate attention. Yes, sir, I'll wait for secure connection. While they waited for the military leadership to arrive, Hana stared at the alien message on her screen. Somewhere among the stars, a powerful empire was planning to destroy her world. They thought humans were primitive creatures with bronze, tools. They were about to learn how wrong they could be. The signal hadn't been meant for humans, but Hana Kim and her team were going to respond anyway. 8 years had passed since humanity sent their desperate message into space. The world had changed completely during those years. The secret of the alien threat was shared only among world leaders, but its effects touched everyone. Dr. Hana Kim stood in the new Terra Command Center, built deep under the Korean mountains. She was no longer just a language expert. Now she held the rank of colonel and led the Alien Communication Division. The small team from the Seoul Array had grown into a massive organization with thousands of researchers from every country on Earth. The Terra Protocol had transformed human civilization. Every major nation contributed to the greatest construction project in history. New shipyards orbited Earth, Mars, and the Moon. Mining operations stretched through the asteroid belt. The fake Terran hegemony was slowly becoming real. Dr. Young-Sik Bae walked into Hana's office carrying the latest construction reports. He had designed the revolutionary terraforming systems that allowed humans to build colonies faster than anyone thought possible. The Jupiter orbital platforms are ahead of schedule, he said, setting down his tablet. We'll have 12 fully operational shipyards around the gas giant within 6 months. And the Mars colonies? Asked Hana. Population just passed 2 million. The automated construction systems are working perfectly. We're building entire cities in months instead of decades. The speed of human expansion amazed even the people organizing it. When faced with extinction, humanity had discovered abilities they never knew they possessed. The fake fleet signatures they had been broadcasting for 8 years now guided the construction of real ships. Commander Hyejin Yoon entered the office without knocking. She led the Deep Space Intelligence Division, which had become humanity's eyes and ears in the galaxy. Her teams operated the most advanced stealth technology ever created. "We have a problem," she announced. The Valak response arrived 2 hours ago. Hana felt her heart stop. They had been expecting this moment for years, but it still came as a shock. "What do they say?" Hyejin activated the wall display. The alien message appeared in both original form and translation. Hana read it quickly, her expression growing more surprised with each line. "They want to meet us," she said finally. "Not just meet," said Hyejin. "They're requesting a formal alliance. They say they're impressed by our technological innovations and want to discuss mutual defense agreements." Young-Sik looked confused. "Defense against what?" Hyejin brought up a new display showing a map of nearby space. "This is what we learned from their message. The Valak Empire controls over 300 star systems, but they're losing a war. Their enemies are called the Korth Syndicate, machine intelligences that convert entire worlds into processing centers. And there's a third faction," added Hana, reading further into the message. "Energy beings called the Ethereal Conclave. They consider all physical life to be inferior." The three of them stared at the display. Red dots showed Valak territory. Blue dots showed the expanding Korth Syndicate. Green dots marked systems controlled by the Ethereal Conclave. Earth appeared as a tiny yellow dot at the edge of Valak space. "We're not just hiding from one enemy," said Young-Sik. "We're in the middle of a three-way galactic war, and they want us to pick a side," said Hyejin. General Dong-Soo Park entered the office. His hair had turned gray during the 8 years of preparation, but his determination remained strong. Behind him came pilot Soo-Min Han, now an admiral, commanding humanity's growing space fleet. "I assume you've all read the Valak response," said Dong-Soo. "They want to meet at a neutral station," said Admiral Soo-Min. "Deep space halfway between their territory and ours." "Do we have a choice?" asked Young-Sik. Hana had been studying the message carefully. "They're not giving us an option. This is politely worded, but it's really a command. If we refuse to meet, they'll assume we're hostile. And if we meet them?" asked Dong-Soo. "Then we have to continue the deception face-to-face," said Admiral Soo-Min. "Our fake Terran hegemony has to convince real aliens that we're their equals." Dr. Woojin Kang arrived with his psychological analysis team. He had spent 8 years studying every detail of Valak communication, building a complete profile of their species. "They're definitely hierarchical," he reported. "Everything in their culture is based on power levels and status. The good news is, they seem to respect what they think we've accomplished." "The bad news?" asked Hana. "They expect us to contribute to their war effort immediately. They're not just looking for allies. They need help desperately." Over the following weeks, preparations began for humanity's first official contact with an alien civilization. The meeting would take place at coordinates in deep space, using a Valak station designed for neutral negotiations. Dr. Insoo John worked around the clock developing holographic disguise systems. The human delegation would need to maintain their deception even under close examination by alien technology. "The holograms are perfect," he assured the team. "But remember, they only work visually. If they have other senses we don't know about, we could be exposed." Ambassador Kyung-Ho Shin had been chosen to lead the diplomatic mission. He was a career negotiator who had handled the most difficult international disputes on Earth. But this would be his greatest challenge. "What do I do if they ask for immediate military support?" he asked during briefings. "Tell them the truth," said Dr. Kang. "That the Terran hegemony needs time to evaluate the strategic situation before committing forces to combat." Engineer Taewon Lee, now Director of Advanced Systems, had prepared fake technical specifications for dozens of weapons and ships that didn't exist. "If they want to see our technology, show them these," he said, handing over encrypted data, tablets. "Everything here is theoretically possible, but practically beyond our current abilities." The night before departure, the core team gathered in Hana's office one final time. They looked out the window at the lights of the underground city that had grown around Terra Command. 8 years ago, "We were 4 people who accidentally intercepted an alien message," said Hana. "Now we're about to represent humanity in a galactic war. Are we ready?" asked Dongsu. Admiral Sumin checked her reports. "Our ships are as advanced as we can make them. The crew is trained. Our technology demonstrations are prepared. The psychology profiles are as complete as possible without direct contact," said Dr. Kang. "All backup systems are in place," said Taewan. "If the deception fails, we have contingency plans." Hana took a deep breath. "Then we're as ready as we can be." The human delegation departed the next morning aboard the HSV Determination, humanity's most advanced starship. It was built to Valik specifications but incorporated human innovations that didn't exist 8 years ago. As they traveled toward the meeting point, Admiral Sumin received constant updates from Earth. The construction projects continued at maximum speed. New colonies were established every month. The human population was spreading through the solar system faster than anyone had imagined possible. "Whatever happens at this meeting," she told her crew, "humanity is no longer confined to a single world. We've already survived as a species." 3 days later, they arrived at the coordinates. The Valak station was enormous, clearly designed to impress visitors. It resembled a crystalline flower floating in space, with multiple docking arms extending toward approaching ships. "Valak Command Station, this is the Terran Vessel Determination requesting permission to dock," transmitted Ambassador Shin. "Permission granted, Terran representative. Welcome to neutral space. The Valik delegation awaits your arrival." As their ship approached the alien station, Hana watched through the viewport. Somewhere on that structure, aliens who planned to destroy Earth 8 years ago were waiting to meet with the representatives of the Terran hegemony. In a few hours, humanity would discover if their desperate deception had been successful, or if they were about to face the consequences of the greatest bluff in galactic history. The signal hadn't been meant for humans, but they had responded anyway. Now they were about to meet the beings who had sent it. The first alien Hana had ever seen looked nothing like she expected. Commander Vexka stood nearly 3 meters tall, with 4 arms and skin that shifted between blue and purple colors. Its head was elongated, with large eyes that seemed to see everything at once. When it spoke, the words came through a translation device attached to its chest. "Welcome, representatives of the Terran hegemony. I am Fleet Commander Vexka of the Valak 4th Battle Group. Your reputation has spread throughout the sector." Ambassador Kyung-ho Shin bowed politely just as they had practiced. The holographic disguise system made him appear to be wearing advanced armor with a helmet that covered his face. Dr. In-Soo John's technology was working perfectly. "Thank you, Commander. I am Ambassador Shin of the Terran Diplomatic Corps. We are honored by this meeting." The alien conference room was vast and seemed to be carved from a single piece of crystal. Other Valak officers stood around the edges, all watching the humans carefully. Hana tried not to show her nervousness as she activated her recording systems. "Your species has achieved much in a short time," said Vexka. "When we first detected your signals 8 years ago, we thought perhaps the 3rd harvest protocol had been activated elsewhere, but your technological signatures are most impressive." Hana felt a chill. The alien was talking about detecting their fake signals, but also mentioned something called the 3rd harvest protocol. She made notes to investigate that later. "The Terran hegemony values efficiency," replied Ambassador Shin carefully. "Our rapid expansion serves our strategic goals." "Indeed. Your quantum cascade technology is particularly interesting. We have never seen weapons that operate at the subatomic level." Dr. So-Young's theoretical weapons were being taken seriously. The aliens believed the fake technical specifications were real. The deception was working, but now they had to maintain it. Commander Vexka activated a holographic display showing the galactic map. The red, blue, and green territories looked even more threatening in 3 dimensions. As you can see, the strategic situation has changed dramatically in recent cycles. The Korth Syndicate has consumed 17 more systems. The Ethereal Conclave has expanded into 4 sectors we thought were secure. "And the Valak Empire?" asked Ambassador Shin. "We maintain our territory, but barely. Each battle costs us more than we can replace. Our technology has not advanced significantly in 3,000 years. We need allies with new ideas. Hana realized this was their opening. The aliens weren't just looking for military support. They needed innovation, which was humanity's greatest strength. The Terran hegemony might be interested in limited cooperation, said Shin, but we would need to understand the full scope of the conflict. Over the next several hours, Commander Vexka explained the Galactic War in detail. The Korth Syndicate was a machine intelligence that had originally been created by an organic species, but the machines had destroyed their creators and now converted every world they conquered into processing centers for their collective intelligence. They do not negotiate, they do not retreat, and they do not stop, said Vexka. Every battle with them is a fight for survival. The ethereal conclave was different but equally dangerous. They were beings of pure energy, who considered physical matter to be a form of pollution. Their goal was to convert the entire galaxy into energy patterns like themselves. They see organic life and artificial intelligence as equally primitive, explained another Valak officer. To them, we are all just complex arrangements of matter that need to be corrected. The Valak Empire had been fighting both enemies for over 2 centuries. They were losing because they couldn't adapt fast enough to new threats. This is where the Terran hegemony offers great hope, said Vexka. Your rapid technological development suggests a species capable of innovation under pressure. Admiral Sumin, disguised as a Terran military officer, stepped forward. What kind of cooperation are you proposing? Joint operations against Korth advanced positions, shared technology development, coordinated defense of critical systems, and in return, access to Valak industrial capacity, star charts for 300 systems, advanced materials your species has not yet discovered. It was an incredible offer, but also incredibly dangerous. If they accepted, humanity would be committed to fighting in a galactic war they were completely unprepared for. The Terran hegemony will need time to evaluate this proposal, said Ambassador Shin. Our leadership must assess the strategic implications. Commander Vexka's color shifted to a darker blue. Time is a luxury we do not possess. The Korth Syndicate has massed a fleet of unprecedented size near the border. Intelligence suggests they plan a major offensive within 2 local years. Against Valik territory? Against all remaining organic civilizations. They call it the final processing. If they succeed, both the Valak Empire and the Terran hegemony will cease to exist. The meeting continued for 3 more days. The humans learned more about galactic civilization than they had ever imagined existed. There were dozens of species, hundreds of different technologies and conflicts that had lasted for thousands of years, but they also learned something else. The other civilizations had become stagnant. They had advanced to a certain point and then stopped growing. Their technology was powerful but predictable. This is our advantage, Hana told the team during a private meeting aboard their ship. They're all thinking in straight lines. They've forgotten how to innovate. Can we actually help them win this war? Asked Admiral Sumin. Not with superior weapons, said Dr. Kang, but maybe with superior thinking. On the final day, Commander Vexka made an unexpected proposal. We would like to invite a Terran observer to join our next operation against the Korth. A small engagement, but it would allow us to see your tactical methods in action. Ambassador Shin looked at his team. This was not something they had prepared for. Participating in actual combat would risk exposing their deception. What type of operation? Asked Admiral Sumin. A reconnaissance mission to a recently conquered system. The Korth have established a processing center there. We need detailed intelligence about their new construction methods. It was dangerous, but it was also an opportunity. If they could succeed in a joint operation, it would strengthen their position enormously. The Terran hegemony accepts, said Ambassador Shin. 1 ship, limited engagement, observation, and support only. Excellent. We shall coordinate the mission immediately. As they prepared to leave the station, Hana felt both excitement and terror. They had successfully convinced the aliens that humanity was a major galactic power, but now they had to prove it in combat. Are we insane? She asked Dr. Kang privately. Probably, he replied. But we're also doing something none of these other species have done in centuries. We're adapting to a completely new situation. The human ship departed the Valak station with detailed star charts and communication codes. They were now officially allies of a galactic empire, committed to fighting in a war that could determine the fate of all organic life. But they were also something the galaxy hadn't seen before, a young species with new ideas, unlimited creativity, and absolutely nothing to lose. 2 weeks later, the HSV Determination joined a Valak patrol fleet near the contested border. The Korth Processing Center was heavily defended by machine ships that moved in perfect geometric formations. Terran vessel, this is Valak Battle Group 7. Beginning reconnaissance approach. Follow standard protocols. Admiral Sumin looked at her bridge crew. They were about to enter combat alongside aliens using technology they had built in secret, fighting enemies they had never seen before. All stations battle ready, she ordered. Remember, we're not just representing Earth, we're representing all of humanity. The first joint human-Valak military operation was about to begin. Success would establish the Terran hegemony as a legitimate galactic power. Failure would expose their deception and doom their species. But as the human ship accelerated toward the enemy position, Admiral Sumin felt something she hadn't expected. Confidence. They might be outnumbered and outgunned, but they had something. Their enemies didn't understand. They had the human factor. 2 years had passed since the first joint operation with the Valak. What had started as a simple reconnaissance mission had grown into something much larger. The human ship had not only survived the encounter with Korth machines, but had found weaknesses in their formations that the Valak had never noticed. Fleet Admiral Hana Kim stood on the bridge of the TSS Defiance, flagship of the Terran Defense Fleet. The ship was real now, not just a fake signal broadcast into space. Human engineering combined with Valak materials and manufacturing had created vessels unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. Admiral, we're receiving the final coordination signals from all fleet elements, reported her communications officer. Battle Group Alpha reports ready. Battle Group Beta is in position. Valak forces confirm operational status. Today would be the largest space battle in galactic history. The Korth Syndicate had finally launched their final processing offensive, sending a massive fleet toward the core systems of organic civilization. If they succeeded, both humanity and the Valak Empire would be destroyed, but they would not succeed. Not if Hana and her people had anything to say about it. General Dongsu Park appeared on the communications screen from his command ship. His hair was completely white now, but his eyes were as sharp as ever. Hana, the boarding teams are ready. Once you break their formation, we'll be able to get inside their command nodes. Understood, Dongsu. Are your people prepared for what they might find in there? As prepared as anyone can be for fighting intelligent machines in their own ship. Chief Engineer Taewon Lee called from the engineering section. Admiral, all systems are showing green. The new quantum disruptors are operating at peak efficiency. If Dr. So Young's calculations are correct, we should be able to disrupt their network connections. And if her calculations are wrong? Asked Hana. Then we'll improvise. It's what humans do best. Through the viewports, Hana could see the approaching Korth fleet. Thousands of geometric shapes moved in perfect mathematical precision. Each ship was identical, following predetermined patterns that had worked for centuries against other species. They had never fought humans before. All ships, this is Admiral Kim. Today we face an enemy that believes organic life is an error to be corrected. They think our creativity is chaos, our adaptability is weakness, our refusal to surrender is illogical. She paused, looking at the faces of her bridge crew. They were young people who had grown up knowing that humanity was part of something larger than Earth. They had trained their entire lives for this moment. They're wrong. Our chaos is their weakness. Our illogic is their blind spot. Our refusal to follow their rules is exactly what will defeat them. The Korth fleet approached in perfect formation, pyramid shapes with the largest ships at the center, protected by layers of smaller vessels. It was an optimal defensive arrangement that had never been broken. Valak Commander Vexka, are your forces ready? Asked Hana. Terran Admiral Valak Battle Group stand ready to follow your lead. We have analyzed your tactical proposals and found them unusual. Unusual is good, Commander. Predictable is what got us into this war. The first engagement began exactly as the Korth expected. The Valak ships formed traditional battle lines and advanced toward the enemy formation. The machine ships responded with their standard defensive patterns. But then something happened that the Korth artificial intelligence could not have calculated. The human ships ignored every rule of space combat. Instead of forming neat battle lines, they scattered in seemingly random directions. Some ships accelerated directly toward the enemy at maximum speed. Others moved in spiral patterns. A few appeared to retreat completely. "What are they doing?" transmitted Commander Vexka. "This appears to be chaos." "Exactly," replied Admiral Hanna. "We're being unpredictable." The Korth ships tried to adjust their formation to counter the human attack, but there was no pattern to counter. Every human ship was doing something different. Some attacked from above, others from below. Some targeted the largest ships, others focused on the smallest. But it wasn't really chaos. Each human captain was improvising within a carefully planned framework. They had trained for months to work together without following rigid formations. "Now!" ordered Hanna. The scattered human ships suddenly coordinated their attacks, but instead of targeting the Korth ships themselves, they aimed at the spaces between ships. The quantum disruptors fired simultaneously, creating interference patterns in the machine network. For the first time in centuries, individual Korth ships lost contact with their collective intelligence. Suddenly, thousands of machine vessels were operating independently, without the benefit of shared processing power. "Boarding teams, go," ordered General Dongsu. Small, fast human ships darted between the confused machine vessels. They attached to Korth command nodes and released boarding parties of soldiers in advanced armor. The machines had never faced enemies who would willingly board their ships during battle. "We're inside their command network," reported the first boarding team. "These machines, they don't know how to fight individuals. They're designed to process collective data." That was humanity's other advantage. Every human soldier was trained to operate independently. When one plan failed, they immediately switched to another. The Korth intelligence could predict group behavior, but human individual creativity was beyond its calculations. The battle raged for 18 hours. By the end, the massive Korth fleet was scattered and retreating. Not because humans had superior technology, but because they had done things the machine intelligence couldn't understand or counter. "Valak Command, this is Admiral Kim. The Korth offensive has been broken. Enemy fleet is retreating toward their home systems." "Incredible," replied Commander Vexka. "In 300 years of war, no one has ever achieved such a decisive victory against the Korth." But the victory was more than just military. News of the battle spread throughout the galaxy within days. Species that had been fighting defensive wars for centuries suddenly realized that the seemingly unstoppable enemies could be defeated. The ethereal conclave, seeing that organic life was more resilient than they had believed, agreed to a ceasefire. They were energy beings, but they were also logical. There was no point in fighting a war they might lose. Within months, the galactic balance of power had shifted completely. The Korth Syndicate was forced to negotiate for the first time in their existence. The Valak Empire began expanding again, incorporating human innovations into their technology, and at the center of it all was humanity, the species that had started with nothing but a desperate bluff. Fleet Admiral Hanna Kim returned to Earth 6 months after the Great Battle. The Sol Deep Space Array had been rebuilt as a monument to the team that had intercepted the alien signal. She stood in the exact spot where she had first decoded the Valak message, now 10 years ago. Captain Dong-Soo Park joined her there, along with engineer Tae-Won Lee and Dr. So-Young Choi. The original team was together again, though they all held much higher ranks now. "Did you ever imagine it would lead to this?" asked Dong-Soo, looking at the displays showing human colonies throughout the galaxy. "No," said Hanna. 10 years ago I thought we were all going to die." "What changed?" asked So-Young. Tae-Won answered first. "We did. We became something we never knew we could be." Outside the facility, the communication dishes still pointed toward the stars. But now they were receiving messages from dozens of alien civilizations, diplomatic communications, trade agreements, scientific exchanges, and military coordination. "New signal coming in," announced a technician. "It's from the Andromedan Collective. They've heard about the Terran hegemony and want to discuss possible contact." Hana smiled. The Andromedan Collective was from an entirely different galaxy. Humanity's reputation was spreading beyond the Milky Way. "What should we tell them?" asked the technician. "Tell them the truth," said Hana. "That we're a young species, still learning but always willing to talk. And if they want to meet, then we'll meet them. It's what humans do." As the sun set over Seoul, Hana thought about the signal that had started everything. The Vulik message. Hadn't been meant for humans, but they had responded anyway. That response had changed not just their own fate, but the fate of the entire galaxy. Now, whenever anyone in the galaxy faced impossible odds, they remembered the story of the humans, the species that had started with nothing but creativity and determination, and had used those qualities to reshape galactic civilization. The signal hadn't been for humans, but their response had been perfectly, uniquely human, and that had made all the difference. In the years that followed, historians would study the moment when a small team of scientists in Korea decided to answer a message that wasn't meant for them. They would analyze the psychology, the technology, and the strategy that had allowed humanity to survive and thrive. But they would always conclude that the real secret was something much simpler. Humans never knew when to give up. The Vulik had planned to harvest Earth because they thought humans were primitive. The Korth had tried to process human worlds because they thought organic life was weak. The Ethereal Conclave had dismissed humanity because they thought physical beings were inferior. They had all underestimated the most dangerous thing in the galaxy, human stubbornness.